Welcome to the Nutrition Collaborative podcast, where we cut through the noise, bust the myths, and bring you nothing but truth about health, fitness, and everything in between. I'm Alec Moore, dietitian, and each week we'll dive into what really works when it comes to achieving lasting health and fitness. No gimmicks, no BS, just real talk, real success stories, and a holistic approach to living your healthiest life. Whether you're here for practical tips, inspiration from real client journeys, or just to find out what's actually worth your time, this is the podcast for you. Let's break it down, get empowered, and focus on what truly matters for your health. Have you ever wondered what it would maybe feel like if you lived forever? Well, me too, but we all know that's impossible. However, we can do a lot of things to help ourselves live a little bit longer, and not just live and survive longer, but be more youthful in our later stages of life. And it's not going to come from some special cream. It's not going to come from some special powder or some mystical potion or pill out there to help you live longer. It's literally going to come down to your health. And a lot of people will obviously be like, well, no, duh, that's very obvious. We know that health is long-term, this, due to this like one thing or something. So what I really wanted to dive into with this episode is what can we do to kind of push the needle forward a little bit more with skin health and aging, with brain health and aging, muscular and metabolic health with aging, because those are the components that are going to be quote unquote anti-aging. So with anything anti-aging, you want to give it life. You want to give it nourishment. You want to give it abundance. You want to give it hydration. If you may not need all those injections in your forehead when you're older. If you just drink water, it's not as easy as that. There's other variables at play, of course, other factors involved here, but the point is you can have such healthier skin for such a longer period of time in your life by drinking water and staying adequately hydrated. Okay, so let's talk about, outside of hydration, what else can we do for anti-aging starting now? Build muscle and build bone health, both of them. If you build muscle, you build a metabolism. Metabolism is also, and we've talked about this in a previous episode, metabolism is not just some mystical thing. You have a slow one at birth or a fast one at birth. It is a large portion of your metabolism is due to how much muscle mass you have. And think of the many, many, many conditions out there in the later stages of life that have to do with muscle wasting and sarcopenia and osteopenia, and they're all nutritionally related. They're all muscle and bone related. If you have strong bones and strong muscle through your 20s and 30s, you build it up in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, then you can retain it in your 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, and then you're not in you might not need a cane at 62. You might not need a walker at 78. Maybe you need it at 88 instead. That extra decade that's literally anti-aging because you had resistance training, weight-bearing exercise in your youth. It is the most anti-aging thing you can do is lift weights. It's also really good for the brain, but we're going to talk a lot about stress management today regarding the brain, as well as muscular and metabolic health as well. Because with all of this, with building muscle and a metabolism, you are also improving your insulin sensitivity. So your blood sugars throughout life, your blood pressure throughout life, and bone density throughout life, they're all being optimized. And you're going to retain them so much longer, or healthy versions of them for so much longer. So it's really, really, really not about like this magical supplement or, do you take black seed oil? I heard that's anti-aging and can help you. Stay hydrated, lift weights consistently, take care of your stress. And those things alone are so, so profound and here's the thing, it doesn't have to be a lot of weight training. You could do 2 to 4 times per week. It does not need to be, 7 days per week. So that's huge. Men and women, especially women. I can't tell you how many people or, women I work with and have worked with over the years who are just mind blown how much regular weight training has helped them keep weight off that they've been trying to lose for decades, because of the metabolism boost, quote unquote, but just how much better they feel mobily and actively and metabolically. They digest food quicker, they utilize food quicker, and feel youthful again. So this is honestly huge. You see actors and actresses in Hollywood, and you see people, like, some people are aged really, really poorly and you're confused. But then, you look at their diet history, you look at their, obviously, what type of activity they did or whatnot. And you can just see the robust differences in those who took care of themselves in their 20s and 30s and 40s. And then you can see those who didn't. And it is not even a question. So muscle mass, bone density are going to be your two biggest items when it comes to anti-aging and prolonging your youth. On top of muscle and bone, hydration, like I mentioned, and I'll talk a little bit more about nutrition in a moment. Hydration. Your organs, your tissues, your glands, everything needs to be hydrated well consistently to keep you young for a very long time. Okay, now let's talk about stress, because stress will kill you and stress will tear you down, and it's the silent killer, because nobody ever recognizes their own as what it really is. I think we all have a blurred look a viewpoint or perspective on our own stress. Like, we see when other people are stressed or lashing out, or, this gal is, crashing out, or, Justin Bieber's all over the internet just absolutely crashing out. And you see the stress and how other people cope with it, but and respond to different, ups and downs, but you have a tough time for yourself. And I know you do, because we all do. We have like this barrier for recognizing and truly assessing our own stress. And I think a lot of people need, some counseling on it, some therapy on it, things like that. I'm not going to get into that today, but I think we do a really, really poor job of assessing our own current stress levels. So that's why this is going to be huge, because we just have a skewed view on it. And it's not about removing stress from your life, because we're all going to have stress. Life is stressful. There's always going to be something that you have to do for your boss, or, you have to be relied on for a significant other or a family member, or you have to take care of your pets, or you have a laundry list of responsibilities every day, or, you're carrying this trauma from this situation, or whatever the case may be. We all have different ebbs and flows of different stress levels throughout our lives. And it's not about deleting that, because in some cases, stress is good. Stress teaches us to be resilient. It molds us into, more adaptable human species, and enables us to get through a lot of things deeper down the road and as life goes on. And I don't want to get too deep with this episode when it comes to the stress, but it can literally deteriorate health very quickly. I mean, look at, something common. You could type it into Google or whatever, just over the 4 years of a president's time in office, you can just see the amount of aging that goes on in a 4-year span of just living in a chronic stress environment. So someone living in that environment for, maybe not as significant or as severe, or maybe not as much, is on the line for this person, but, living in that state for 30 years as opposed to 4, you just get into this chronic low grade inflammatory state. And that's where disease manifests, along with the metabolic stuff. And then if you're not spending time building muscle, building bone density, and just cardiovascular health, exercise, then you're almost doubling or tripling up the rate at which that stress is going to just take over. Because we want to look at what stress is doing to the body. It's low-grade inflammation, like I just said, but it's also poor sleep, which can then become further low-grade inflammation. It can become more chronic or more severe. It can cause hormonal chaos. It can cause down regulation of metabolism, of detox pathways, of brain health and function, organ function. I mean, you name it, everything's just, all your systems, slow down. And we have to be able to manage our stress so that that does not happen chronically to us, because it is a very, very much an aging accelerator. And I'm saying all of this to you as someone who struggles with it, to be honest. It's not an easy thing to manage all the time when you have XYZ responsibilities, but we must work on it, and we must work on it consistently in combination with the health, or cardiovascular health and endurance and activity, weight training for bone and muscle. So I'm talking heart, brain, muscle, bone preservation. And we can do those things how I just explained, but also through stress management and getting on top of it early and young. It's insane what it can do, because you're going to start to become more equipped with tools for your stress. Breath work, meditation, not hot yoga, like restorative yoga, journaling, puzzles, self-regulating things, all kinds of different techniques out there. It's basically just capturing your nervous system or gaining control over your nervous system and regulating it for yourself and saying, you know what? No, I'm not going to have a panic attack. No, I am in control right now of my emotions. Let's regulate all of this. Here's my next steps, my A, B, and C out of this situation, etc. I'm going to get good sleep no matter, what I feel like or whatever my schedule is. I'm going to stay consistent with these things, right? And repetitive with these things. Those are the tools that I think are going to help you prolong your health, your youth and health. And all of those things could add, it's hard to say, but years to your life and years to feeling youthful and years to live disease-free. Okay, so the first things when it comes to the nutritional side, let's switch on into nutrition. We know stress management is a huge one and a very undervalued one, but we can go ahead and move on to the nutrition. So protein, obviously, sufficient amounts of protein, of course, for calcium and vitamin D, of course, as well for bone health too. But then we're looking at, antioxidant support, eating the colors, eating a rainbow, eating a variety of food with a ton of different nutrient profiles so that you're getting an influx and an abundance of nourishment from different sources all the time. And that's going to help fight inflammation from antioxidants and a robust nutrient profile. It also helps detoxify things and, regulate waste production and moving the bad things out of your body. Healthy dietary fats, consistent intake of healthy, adequate amounts of dietary fats as well. It's brain fuel. So anti-inflammatory fatty acids, brain fuel. There's like omega-3s, there's DHA, EPA, those fatty acids for, omega-3 fatty acids for the brain. That's great for anti-inflammatory stuff and for prolonging brain health. But it's, to me, the sufficient amount of calories and the sufficient amount of dietary fats, healthy dietary fats on a daily basis that can do it, because then you are just in a more nourished, well-fed state chronically. So when it comes down to food, it's not this one particular herb or supplement or something or concoction of ingredients, herbal ingredients, ancient Chinese herbs that will just, be the most anti-aging thing if you're not taking care of everything I've discussed up until this point. So like nutrition to me is more of a pattern type of thing, not a, are you avoiding enough of this? Are you consuming enough of this? It is so important to look at it as patterns versus getting caught up in one or two very specific things. So a pattern of proper protein intake, a pattern of proper healthy dietary fat intake, a pattern of eating different colors and getting tons of different diverse nutrients from food more so than it is you need that DHA from the omega-3 supplement. It's the patterns of all of these things over the span or over the lifespan. And then we can also talk, we might as well talk about the gut and the gut-brain connection, and keeping one healthy can keep the other healthy, keep your immune system healthy. The majority of your immune system is found in your gut. And so a healthy, happy microbiome of your gut with healthy bacteria, balanced bacteria, and healthy bowel movements and all of that can also be extremely anti-aging as well. And this is where the hydration comes in. Most people are underhydrated their entire lives. They might ebb and flow. There might be seasons of better hydration, seasons of whatnot, seasons of times where they might be well hydrated, and then a few weeks go by and they get out of their habits or whatever. But most people are not well hydrated their entire lives, and especially in their later years when they just don't have the drive to drink more. They move less, metabolically become more downregulated, muscle wasting. They just don't have the drive and desire to be adequately hydrated. So this is going to be, yes, I mentioned some gut health things, but also cellular health. Like hydration on a cellular level is going to help those tiny little functions that are so big, and you can't even see them, but they are so big at the end of the day in the big picture of things. And if those are aging really quickly, then the rest of the whole domino effect in your health is as well. It all starts on a cellular level, really. That's the beginning point. So if cells are not hydrated, it's going to be tough to remain youthful. Of course, we cannot forget sleep and recovery. Sleep consistency, limiting blue lights around sleep times, consistent sleep-wake cycles, and just prioritizing it in your chaotic life through all your responsibilities that we talked about in the beginning. So these are some of the basics. All of these are the basics. I think we're overlooking a lot of these when we look at anti-aging. I see anti-aging articles all the time, or, people will send me, as a dietitian, they'll send me a product on Instagram or TikTok or wherever, or, just text me a link. Hey, what do you think about this for anti-aging? It's like, I haven't seen you hit your water target in 7 months. Why are we worried about that pill that you're going to end up not taking? Why even ask me in the first place? Do the basics first. Okay, hydration, weight training for muscle and metabolism and for bone density, cardiovascular endurance, stay active, stay strong. I mean, why are we overlooking these things, and why have we been overlooking these things for decades? But then we wonder why we have so many wrinkles at 44, or we wonder why our doctor is really worried about our bone health at 58, or why we have metabolic syndrome starting in the 60s, or type 2 diabetes starting in the 60s. All of these things have not been taken seriously enough in your 20s, 30s. So anti-aging in practice, I would say crushing your sleep goal daily, your hydration goal daily, getting at least one light walk in a day, or making it a priority, weight training 2 to 4 times ish per week, sufficient amount of protein and 3 to 5 feedings a day, roughly, daily breath work or journaling, socially interacting and managing your stress by laughing and communicating and experiencing, real human nature and socialization. Trying to regulate your bowel movements as much as possible. It's actually a bonus that I didn't have included in my notes, but wanted to throw in there as I've just been thinking. And obviously the hydration thing I mentioned. So it's just a couple of things per day that if you focus on, you can add so much youth to your future. You can prolong it for so long. And a lot of it is just being aware of when your body needs to move, being aware when your body needs better hydration, being aware of when your body's under a lot of stress, being aware of the last meal that you ate, being aware of the next meal you're going to eat. Just being aware of your health is like one of the most anti-aging things you can do. Crazy. The basics. Something to think about. I hope you enjoyed this one, and that's all we have for today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any recommendations for what you guys would like to listen to as we move forward, we are going to have a lot more guests coming on here soon, throughout the next, August and September here, 2025. But I'm always wanting to hear feedback and, take suggestions on what people are truly interested in hearing about from my perspective as a dietitian and nutrition professional. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you all have a great week.